going to go into politics. Now, I would like to make my first point with, prior to that, I would like to set a limitation to digital activism in the West. My reason for this is that although we do have serious problems in Indonesia and other countries alike, I believe that Western media, Western digital activism has affected the global space in its entirety, and you cannot see that with the likes of Indonesia's problem. Now my first point will be about the Kony 2012 movement. The Kony 2012 movement was an infamous movement directed at finding and imprisoning Joseph Kony, at the time, child abuser and government threat in Uganda. Now, from the 2012 movement spawned a charity and a video marketing campaign about the movement. In just its first week, the video amassed over 100 million views, which was huge at the time. Nowadays, 100 million views in a week is a Mr. Beast video. Back then, in 2012, that was a huge deal. It had the world's eyes on it. And also brought a lot of awareness to Joseph Kony, which was also one of its infamous taglines. However, during the same amount of time where the movement was just skyrocketing, Uganda, which used to be one of the most attractive tourist destinations, suddenly saw a drastic decrease in its tourism, leaving the country in a worse position than it was prior to the publicity, and taking the nation's already low income. My second point, which also leads into my first point, money mismanagement. The charity for the Kony 2012 movement had amassed over millions of USD, maybe even tens of millions by today's currency, in donations. Yet, most of these donations hardly ever saw the light of day in Uganda. Instead, what happened? The donations, which were around 60 to 70%, were instead being used for marketing and for the campaign, instead of the arrest and aiding in the arrest of Joseph Kony and justice for the children he abused. I would like to also make the statement that to this day, 2024, Joseph Kony has not been in prison. It's been 12 years, over millions of views and millions in donations, yet no arrest was made for Joseph Kony. My third point, it lacks in impact. Now I would like to take a break from the Joseph Kony case and instead move into a case that is more ongoing now, that I believe everyone has heard about. The Black Lives Matter movement. I believe that the judges are affected with this, and I believe that most of the committee and members are also acquainted with this. The Black Lives Matter movement, for those who are less well known, who know less about this, is a movement that sought to decrease police brutality and injustice in the courtroom for Black people. It started with hashtag Black Lives Matter on Twitter, now called X, and has now amassed over 90 million US dollars in donations and has the entire world's attention. But, big but, prior to and after the BLM movement, the amount of Black people being mistreated stayed the same. The amount of Black people being falsely beaten and being put into prisons stayed the same, even after billions of views, hundreds and thousands of retweets, maybe even millions, and almost 100 billion USD being put into charity. Now, I would also like to make a point that some might $90 million in donations, and all you're doing is bailing out black people instead of facing the current societal problems in America about black people, I believe you are doing an insanely terrible job that I believe toddlers could even do better. Now, I would also like to make my final point, 1 minute, in lacking in awareness. Now, what do I mean? I mean as in, it blows. Take a situation like this, BLM movement, it blows up, another movement blows up, and the BLM movement is suddenly dropped down, and now everybody forgets about BLM movement. In our culture now, we have quick memes, like the likes of Skibidi Toilet. It takes advantage of our already overstimulated brain, and we can, and more eye-catching and overstimulated, like the likes of Skibidi Toilet, we can see that our mind is too fast for us. Now the same amount of attention is being given to the gaping problem of the digital activism. That's my point. Thank you very much.
Alright, good morning educator, respected speakers, conscious people, and member of the floor. I am Akbar, as the first speakers of opening occasion will give rebuttal and also definition and also deliver my argument. The first is first. I want to rebuttal for the first speaker of the opening team that mentioned about money mismanagement. What is the correlation about digital activism with money mismanagement? I can still understand what you mean. And secondly, I want to give clearly definition, because the first speaker of the opening government just mentioned about the digital activism of online is like digital activism is like online what is that? Like online argument by the online. Alright. I will give the definition what is the actually meaning of the digital activism. So first, before going too far to the digital activism, we must know about the core of the essential of the word that activism. The activism itself is a mean of disruption, and if we move to the digital activism, that meaning is the disruption delivered by the media and the online mass. Alright? And nowadays, for people is these things that are used to disruption to the government, to the institution, and also to the company who do something that are wrong in the people of the eye. And this digital activism is more effectively rather than we use the online activism. Like people use the same champagne and hashtag or mango, so they will engage more of the people to interest, to know, to open their mind about the case nowadays. And also by the data, I'm showing to you all that digital activism is more a lot rather than offline activism. By the data, the digital activism is this year is 1,484 people, rather than the online activism that is just 400 until 500. This is a mass and a big impact rather than we use an online digital activism. And the first thing I want to say to my first argument that say the importance of digital activism. Alright, importance of digital activism is the social how the people and how the digital activism is give a big impact to the to the social, so that the social will get know that the topic will the problem. Like I want to give the example, it will give the opportunity to the people who can't speak up in the offline activism. Like the example, like from the case that I will give example, if there are rule of KPU in 2024 that is viral, that a lot of the people in Indonesia disagree with today's policy from the government, and a lot of the Indonesian people do activism, do some hashtag like stay with stay with the KPU, stay with the MK, stay with the MK, also Indonesian Freedom Democracy, and that will be a highlight, and that will highlight for people activism. And a lot of the Indonesian people is want to come, want to deliver their scared about this policy if this policy is implemented. That's why this digital activism is give the people opportunity to speak up in the digital media rather than come to the online, because there were a lot of the bustiness like work and also risk of their life, like the risk of their life is they come a lot of demonstration, it will be fighting during the demonstration, also the police. I want to move to my third argument is raising awareness. People were aware. If more people were aware about the topic and know this problem of some of the country by digital activism. So there was a big impact from digital activism to develop, to engage, to more have attention for people to getting know about what is the actually that will happen in the country, what is actually the problem of the country, so that people will know more and know and then understand what is the problem of their country. Like an example from the notice hashtag the most powerless freedom of the Palestine, and also before that one of the demonstrations like just before our it will give the it will give the lot of understanding, lot of knowing about what is actually happening in this country. That's why this absolutely distributed this motion that saying this house digital activism has come and good, but in the reality there is a good impact more rather than the hard impact. Thank you for the time and the speech.
For the next, we call for the second speaker of the government.
Yes. Okay, so I would like to start my argument in 3, 2, 1. So first of all, I would like to rebuttal some of the things that the leader of the opposition has said. First off, the donations are an effect or a way to push the campaign or the activism project further. So yes, it does have an implication on the entire campaign itself. All the points that the Prime Minister has stated was the effects of the digitalization of activism. Now, you also have mentioned that it's transparent. Now, what I see is that if you like a post and you scroll past it, you haven't really done anything. All you did was like a post, that's all you did. And it has more impact on the West. You will not align with the implications. You have stated something that is from Indonesia. However, my partner has stated that we want to limit it to the West, because it has more effect, more impact in the West. Now I would like to move on to my argument. The feed of the internet can be manipulated, as we know, and that feed can align with the schedule or agenda of the people who manipulate the algorithm. So it is not unlikely for them to show us a one-sided argument. For example, the hashtag #MeToo movement. A one-sided argument. For example, the BLM movement. Well,
what they do is that they victimize black people and demonize white people. In doing so, we create a gap which, instead of making the problem better, we make it worse by antagonizing someone else, a certain demographic. Go ahead.
When you say about we demonize the white people, where is your data that you can say we demonize the white people and the Black Lives Matter activity? When you say that in the Black Lives Matter activity, we demonize the white people, can you give the data where do we demonize the white people?
For example, the demonization of white people, I should say, maybe I should have said cops, the demonization of cops. What they do in the BLM movement, they try to defund the cops. So, back to the point, it antagonizes a certain demographic, right? For example, the #MeToo movement, which in some way, instead of which tries to make the workplace much more safer for both male and female. However, it does the exact opposite by pressing on more stress and more fear towards both male and female employees due to how the ease of accusing false sexual assault allegations towards one another. This also stops people who hire female employees who in some way are attractive due to being in fear of getting charged with false accusations. Now to move on to the next point, sometimes the people who are being helped do not want to be helped. For example, the Latinx situation, turning from the Latino and Latina to Latinx were a more different movement. Some Latinas, they find it offensive in some way. And if there are no real impacts on the campaign, what is really the point of defending the campaign in the first place if it does no real impact? Yeah, okay.
You just mentioned that sometimes people don't want to be helped, but it is that you just ignore the numbers of people that want to be helped by the design itself.
I'd say sometimes. I didn't say all the time. So, in conclusion, we believe the digitalization of activation is bad because of how biased it can be, and sometimes not even solve the problem in the first place, or even make it worse. That will be all we can do.
To close opening bench, we welcome the second speaker of opening opposition.
Thank you for the time. I'm going to say 3 to 1. Well, good morning, everyone. We are the educators, respected speakers, and all of the musicians. My name is Najwa Azawala, and as the second speaker from the open opposition, would like to say that I totally disagree with these motions. This House believes that digitalizations of activism have done more harm than good. Because first thing first, I want to do rebuttal from the opening government, and secondly, I want to give new argument, and lastly, I want to reassure all of the argument about how we as the opposition will participate in this. First thing first, I'd like to highlight again, when the second speaker from the opening government mentioned about sometimes people don't want to be helped because of the answer, but you are just ignoring the existence of
the number, the amount of people who want to be helped by the digital activism itself. And if you are mentioned that digital activism it can make the solution even worse or something like that, but you didn't even give a clear explanation about what can is digital activism can make it worse. And when you are mentioned about the Black Lives Matter or something like that, yeah, but then you are knowing the existence of digital activism through the Black Lives Matter, right? People doing the offline demonstrations because of the digital activism on social media, but because of the hashtag Black Lives Matter, oh, what happens to Black Lives Matter itself? Then people are, oh, there is a problem with the Black Lives Matter or something. No, thank you. There is a problem with that. So is trigger people to digital activism is like a trigger people to do an offline demonstration itself. So I want to continue to my argument. The first thing first, I would like to correlate with my first speakers. He mentioned that everyone has the freedom to speech, right? And I believe that digital activism is give yellow space. But no, thank you. Well, by having digital activism, it opens perspective of people about how the issues are done. When they are have a Black Lives Matter activism, they need to speak about how they get the discriminations about this right or something like that. Or something like how digital activism about sexual harassment that be doing by the Palestinian. They are doing a digital activism about how we can stop the sexual harassment. She mentioned that the people who can get sexual harassment is not only a girl, but also a boy. So it's kind of opened our mind about what exactly happens about the issues, right? Okay, please.
Okay, so about the Black Lives Matter.
I think you need to use your mic.
Okay, so for the Black Lives Matter, the campaign, the protests did not actually affect the statistics of both police brutality and the false accusations for Black people falling into jail. So, what your point was, it was.
Okay, you mentioned that the Black Lives Matter is not really impactful, but then people aren't aware. You mentioned before, your first speakers mentioned about how people show the views like this. They are much views about it, but at least people know what exactly happens in America and something like that about the Black Lives Matter itself. The existence, if I talk about the existence of Black Lives Matter, the impact of that. No, thank you. But now I will mention more about I believe that digital activism is giving transparency and accountability. Well, the people doing digital activism, they are provoked for transparency and accountability. For example, from the aspect of more transparent when there are corruption things in the government, when we are doing digital activism, like the last issues that are happening is like the corruptions of more than 1 trillion, something like that. It makes governmental transparency about the problems, about what exactly happening, about they are showing the transparency with the public itself by doing this. And it's all because of digital activism itself. And the last thing, and the third is driven to change makers. I believe that digital activism is driving to the change makers. What is meant by the change makers? Well, I believe that digital activism is effective in reform the policy of the government, the reform the socials, in the socials policy. We can say like we have set up our the Indonesians that or we have set our or something like the Me Too or something like we have set for boycotting something. That exactly work, and that's going to work. And you are the only government are ignoring the existence of the work of that concept. And for example, like because of people's are doing digital activism, because of people's are boycotting something by through an online, it's a fact that on the real life, it's a fact that how the government changed their policy, how the government changed how the government reformed their policy. And not only that, when we're talking about the environmental issues, something like that, people are care about their image, right? So everything like we do digital activism about something like that. No, thank you. So everything is to do it can be impactful for their for in real life. And lastly, I believe that digital activism is a trigger to offline
offline activities. But like my first speaker mentioned before, the importance of digital activism is the comparison. There is a comparison between, I will show the comparison between digital activism and offline activism itself. Well, digital activism is showing that we are one of the problems like the digital activism is for us to showing our awareness, our willingness to protect one of the issues, right? To care about one of the issues of the digital activism. And we are talking about digital activism, something like in this digital era, we know the current issues because of digital thing, right? So when the issues appears, the peoples are, oh my god, there is a problem here, there is a problem like Indonesia, there, right? So peoples are doing an offline demonstration, and that's what I mean. That's why I believe that digital activism is more good than harm because of the functions of digital activism itself, and also about the divided of space, cross-chain accountability, driving change makers, and also the trigger. Those I totally disagree with this notion. Is how to believe that digital activism have done more than harm than good. So I will mention that we as the oppositions probably stand to against the motions today. Thank you.
I would like to ask, what's the limit where we can reject your life?
You can reject the urge to treatment, and after treatment, you move to accept the disease.
But she did, they were working your life, and she rejected working your life.
To open the opening page.
Closing.
To open the closing page, you can record the speaker of closing program. Okay, I will start my debate in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much for the moderator that gave me time to speech and the judges. Okay, first of all, let's play my argument and my debate into two. First of all, I'm going to debating my opponent, and second of all, I'm going to deliver my argument. Okay. From the first speaker of the opposite team, saying that digital activism can engage more people to care about the issues and the people where what is actually happening. Okay, if you say that, maybe I can give the example of the peringatan darurat. You know that peringatan darurat a lot of spreading, like a lot of people post the picture and a lot of people use the hashtag. But if you actually make them in real life and then you ask them about what is the oligarchy, what is the peringatan darurat, the action, the peringatan darurat, what is the actual thing, what is the actual going to happen. People in Indonesia doesn't know fully or doesn't fully understand about the thing that is going on, that is spreading online in the internet. Okay. And the second speaker of the opening opposite also thank you. Also give the same arguments as the first speaker of the opening opposite. Okay, I'm gonna move to my argument. Okay. So the motion is this: how police that digitalization of activism has done more harm than good that I actually really agree with. Okay, you know what? First of all, I'm gonna say about the thing that is slacktivism. It's an act that is people is more vocal in social media, but not doing anything more in real life. Okay, for example, is that climate change? No, thank you. Is that climate change issues? There is a lot of people that is spoken about climate change. Okay, go ahead. Okay. For example, the climate change issues. There is always several people that is really doing
the offline activism, right? So I think digital activism is a way for people to also participate in activism. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. But I actually just talking about the digital activism. I know a lot of people also doing the offline activism, but what I'm actually talking here is that the digital activism issues, the selectivism, and okay, move to my area. Okay, I will continue the misinformation arguments. For example, when the COVID-19 spread, the vaccination news, a lot of people believe that vaccine is dangerous, even though the data, the science says it's not. Okay, I will give some evidence to you. The Harvard research said that 65% of the misinformation about vaccination comes from only 12 accounts of social media, the 65%. And that is a problem, that is so dangerous for us. Okay, movement, fear of missing out. A lot of people doing things like using the hashtag and information just because they are afraid of being missing out. And then this will lead to a new problem. There is issues like they are only, spreading the issues. They are only do this for just the content, the likes, and the shares. And it is a problem because we need people in social media that is really cares about the issues. For example, on Twitter, they are sharing the news and add some kind of advertisement. They are tweeting the news like they are replying the news, not replying the news about it like something like reply, oh my god, this is and above the reply is that they are advertising some product. Okay, and the first speaker of the opening government, the limitation of the Western issues. It could lead us to a problem. It could lead us to propaganda. We know that Western media often doing propaganda to spreading like misinformation. For example, Western media say that Afghanistan is the really dangerous country. Afghanistan is the terrorist country. It is not safe for tourism. But in reality, there is a blogger that is go to Afghanistan to like tourists, and the reality is not like that. Yes.
Can you give the data about the problem?
Okay, thank you so much. And that this can cause a lot of problems, such as propaganda is such a bad thing in this media, and a lot of people actually believe that and become like Islamophobe, something like that. And I think that's all for my arguments. And the honorable judges, I am actually really agree with this motion that this House believes that digitalization of activism has done for harm and good, and we can see it through the social media, and I actually believe it, and 100% believe it. So that's all my argument. Thank you so much.
Do you know? Please remember that you only have 3 times to reject the POI. After 3 times, you must accept it, and you have 20 seconds to convey your POI. And please remember that the gap between POI is 30 seconds. If you reject POI more than 3 times, it will be the assessment of judges. Next, we go for the third speaker of God's motivation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Me as the first speaker of closing contribution in exactly disagree with this motion that this House believes that digitalization of activism has more harm than good. Before I go into my argument, let me rebuttal from the opening government. The first speaker that said say he keeping the data from 2012, and it's been too long to solve the example for that year. And we just in that year it hasn't been in digital era. And now we are in digital era. And 2024 to 2012 is about almost 12 years long. And for opening government, I think that they can sure with the argument because they don't give any statement. Okay, going to the opening opposition, the first speaker the first speaker from government said that we want talking about politics here. It turned out the opening opposition talking about politics in Indonesia. Also, the government keep that limit in the West, but opposition gave an example from Indonesia. Then we move to the first speaker of government. And you just forgot the first speaker of opening government said that limitation is only in West, not in Indonesia. Actually, I think you realize about the limitation, but you just give an example of Indonesia. Then move to the selectivism that talk about solving government. Selectivism is not, it means not fast, it doesn't mean it's not effective. Although some of they are who doing the activism don't give any activism in real life, at least they have tried to give some things to be better in something. Okay, let me come to my argument. As you know, digital activism is using digital platforms like TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, etc. If the motion says that digital activism has more harm than good, it's not true at all. Because why? In fact, digital activism has some benefit, like collecting information with fast way, improving the global awareness, fast spreading information, documentation that make it easy to supervise global conditions, and the partisan appeal. I will talk about the first benefits collecting information with faster. If you do a direct activism, there will if something is the activism that happened in the bad condition of some country, if we do direct activism there will not give a significant effect. So people can do the activism with collecting information via crowdfunding. Then move to the second benefit, improving the global awareness. For example, the hashtag of Friday for Future. If anyone, some of you don't know, the hashtag Friday for Future is for improving and remind about the significant income change. Because of this hashtag, people move to activism information. Do an activism. So we go into the third benefit, the fast spreading information. Digital activism is made some new information, very fast will be viral. If you compare with the traditional activism, or you can say digital activism, that not give a significant effect. Then continue to the next benefit is documentation make easy to supervise the global mission. In the social media, on Instagram, usually people will upload a photo about something happened right now. Now, because of that documentation, it makes people around the world easy to know what happened in our world right now. Then the last benefit is the participation of youth. It means that your generation able and easy to know about the global condition with more difficult way. Just from the Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or anything. Former argument will be continued with my second speaker. Okay, now with the motion, this house believes that digitalization of activism has more harm than good. Me, at the closing opposition, totally disagree with this motion. Thank you.
Next, we cover from the second figure on quasi-government.
Ladies and gentlemen, and hello judges are on the board, and all the participants that was having a serious thinking about this whole decision. So, my name is Rehan Sadiqmanto from SMA Youth and from the closing government. I've stated that I totally agree with this motion. I've stated that this House believes that this digitalization activism has done more harm than good. So, as my job as the fourth figure of the government, let me review all of the arguments that was given to this whole decision. So let's start at the opening press first, shall we? So the opening government indicated that it is on the way forward, but if you ever think that in Indonesia itself, there's still a lot of harm that's still going on with this activism, this digitalization activism thing. So we only look at the west side that was not really a lot of problem with our life. Instead, we are all having a lot of problem in our nation. So instead, we should focus on our nation instead of caring about the other nation that was not related to our nation. So the other government, the first speaker especially, cannot really explain why this digitalization activism has done more harm. We only think about the digital campaign, hashtag, or this activity project, even how you remember. But it's not really the problem of this today's debate session because, like, it's not really going to be a bigger impact, you know. So moving on to the opening opposition, the first speaker. He said that digital activism has bigger impact to people. For example, the government cases. Stated but as my first speaker because the government stated that it is people that join in the thread or hashtag is mostly people that is fear of missing out or FOMO. So if you ask them about the cases that was going on in the cafe or the aircraft tickets, so it's not people that is that has mostly don't know about anything that was going on in their life. So moving on to the government, the second speaker especially, he cannot really give us a really explain detail about the agreement that he was saying because he cannot really give a better explanation and he cannot answer the OI that was given to the opponent. So I think he clearly doesn't really have a statement that was given by himself. He cannot really. We're not sure about his argument at all because we cannot answer the OI that was given from the opponent. Moving on, the opening opposition. So he talked about mostly talk about the digital activism has more good impact than the bad impact because it can make the world know what's going on about the nation, the other nation. But I, for the close government, stated that my opinion stated that it is great more harm. Why? Because it can lead to misinformation. Because a lot of people still doesn't really understand what's going on your world. Even if you look at the social media, people nobody really cannot understand what's going on. They can understand, they cannot really understand what is the purpose of that code. So it's not really important. Moving on to the closing text. One can give a better argument about the whole situation that was going happen in Indonesia. For example, like the cases that was viral, she can give a better explanation about that viral cases better than the opposition team said about that. And moving on to the closing opposition, he stated that people can make a documentation and upload as a documentation from the cases that was going. But if you ever think that in this whole technology there was a technology called AI. So people can upload the photo, they can edit the photo to change the perspective of the people. So if the people that was origin, the photo origin that this going to see those information in the social media. And that's why we as a person government totally agree with this motion. And that's it for my argument and for my close I will give to all of you. Roses are red, violets are blue. It was not to read all blue in our school. Thank you.
To close this debate, we call on for the second speaker of closing of the session.
Am I clear? Okay, let's start my speech at 3, 2, 1. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Sultan Sultan. Here standing as the second speaker of closing opportunity. We will declare that this House believes that digitalization of activism has more harm than good is totally false, or we can say this statement was wrong. Okay, let's sum up what this debate is talking about. Firstly, I was talking about the government scene, the open government scene. Like what my first speaker said, I want to clear what they say is the open government scene doesn't share with their argument. We can say that they didn't give us data, they didn't give us a statement. And when I provide the second speaker, he has a hesitation of answering it. So that made the first speaker doesn't deserve the win. Let's move into another example is the data that we use say for 2012. Bro, I'm sorry to say, 2012 is like 12 years ago, and now we're moving to the AI era where all things has been filtered fastly and instantly. Where you can look where's the false one, where's the real one. Like we know at the preview debate, the X application has some benefit. There's a labeling where you can look this news have a label that if this news is big, you can look a stronger data from there. And that's what is the benefit of the digitalization era that you cannot say in the 2012. So moving to the closing government scene, she said about the slacktivism and misinformation, FOMO, and so on. So about the slacktivism, about people think they've enough for doing a posting or doing whatever it is on online. I think it's better than they know, than they just ignore it. Well, if they know at least they can grow with their attitude by their age going. Like maybe they're this time just thinking about, oh, maybe I just ask for this posting it. But as time goes, as his age growing, I'm sure he can develop more his attitude and more caring about it. For example, this activism, she doesn't give us some limitations for the young generation or the old generation. If you take the young generation, do you want to see a toddler doing a campaign outside there? They're just a toddler. They can't do nothing. They get arrested by the police. And that's one benefit, not the benefits, but one side for the slacktivism. And then for the misinformation. The misinformation, like what I said, it can be spotlighted with the X labeling features when you can look at better data if you didn't share with this data. Like suddenly the misinformation from the economics account, you can look at better data from BBC or maybe from Indonesia campaign data from we don't talk about Indonesia here because the first speakers of the opening routine give us a invitation for the rest, so we can take the BBC and other. And also the misinformation can be corrected fastly and instantly with this digitalization era where all things can will be done fastly. So moving to the propaganda. The first leader of CGC said she declared that sometimes the Western use the digitalization activism for the propaganda. Again, I will declare that the X believe is very useful for now. The propaganda itself can be declared fastly, and like maybe it's for today, this was believable. And then because of the AI filtering, the more believable search will come like a week again, and then will correct the propaganda itself. Okay, I will move into my argument. My argument is just short because I just have 2 minutes yet. Okay, maybe you guys didn't hear this terms before because nobody is discussing it. It's about the representation. I mean, like when you do the online activism, maybe can make danger of your privacy. Maybe can make danger of your identity because the rest of the information. But we can handle this with the VPN feature. We can handle this with anonymous feature. Now we're having such more feature than back then. We can do this for safety. VPN. Some people from North Korea can make activism outside the country, so they didn't get news in their country. They sound in other countries. And with the anonymous, the activism from the North Korea can be good because the government doesn't know who does this activism. But if the world knows, then the world will do something with it. Like we can say the example is from the Palestine and Israel. Maybe you're thinking, Instagram is supporting the Israel, but why didn't we boycott Instagram? Well, because it's because of there's some application that's called I'm forgetting the name. That's something already. That application is mixed by Palestine. But if you do a democracy in that application, what will happen? We just support something in the government. But if we do activism in the Instagram that will support Israel, there will be conflict. And like the sound will be heard from the government that we are doing the activism. So that's the benefit of the activism of digitalization. Okay, because the time is coming up, I will close my statement here. This we are the closing opportunity. Totally disagree with this motion that sounds this house believe that digitalization of activism is more environmental. Thank you.
The debate on first page has finished, and please the participant return to your seat. You will go to first page. Please give 5 minutes to the assistance for the session.
Y'all